Hey everyone, this is Mel again for this week's recap for the originals, episode 220, titled City Beneath the Sea, aired April 27th, 2015. So with last week's recap ending up being as long as the episode itself, I thought I'd try to shorten it with this length, with this method at least. Then in the comments below, tell me which version you prefer. Also, after doing a week of after show videos, I decided that I'm not going to do any editing with my videos aside from the sectioned frames, because editing just takes a while, and if I'm going to be posting one a day, I need to save time on editing. So with that said, you could easily listen to these videos like an audiobook, I guess. I'll only put up my favorite quotes on the screen, but the screen will tell you whether I'm in the recap, predictions, or thoughts portions of the video. So with that said, I will summarize the actions of each character in tonight's episode, starting with Dahlia and Klaus, who take a trip down memory lane together in Dahlia's mind since Klaus is still daggered. I'll go into this more detailed later on. Next is a team that's actively trying to find a way to stop Dahlia. This team includes Elijah, Freya, Rebecca, Camille, Marcel, Davina, and a reluctant Vincent. Freya works on finding Hope so that she can use her to lure Dahlia into her trap, which is luring her into a space where Freya has spelled to make Dahlia mortal as long as she's inside it. I'm comparing it to the Devil's Trap from Supernatural. Anyways, since Elijah doesn't approve of using Hope as bait, he enlists the help of Rebecca, Davina, and Camille to find a way to create a decoy of Hope's magic so that they could use that to draw Dahlia to them. Marcel helps when he can, but he calls in Vincent in hopes of Vincent finding a way to get Rebecca unlinked from the 8 teenage witches. A side plot for this group was Vincent trying to get Davina to agree to become the next coven leader for this 9 covens, basically the new Josephine, since he doesn't want the position as he wants to quit magic altogether. Now, when he said that originally, I was wondering if he was going to stash his magic in a teddy bear like Bonnie had, or stash in a knife that Joe had done back on the Vampire Diaries, but it wasn't elaborated that much, so we'll leave it there. Hayley and Hope are on the run in the bayou with Jackson and the rest of the wolf pack. While on the run, they deal with Aiden's funeral. Joshua still mourns for Aiden, which is understandable, the poor guy. But Hayley also makes a choice between 2 families, the Michelsons or Jackson, the pack, because Jackson brings it up to her that he can't live under Klaus's roof if she does decide to go back to the Michelsons. So basically, Hayley picks the wolf pack and ultimately decides to run away from the Michelsons with Hope. Now, I think I covered everything. So now I believe I'll start with my top 3 favorite moments. My first favorite moment will have to be the scenes between Klaus and Dahlia. Not only were the flashbacks done differently than we're used to, which I thought was great, but we got to see some backstory to the relationship between Dahlia and Esther. Through the flashbacks, we learned that Dahlia and Esther were the only survivors of their village when Vikings attacked and took them as hostages. For years, Dahlia was forced to perform dark magic for the Vikings, while Esther fell in love with Michael. It was this love that broke the always and forever vow the sisters had made together, as Esther wanted to abandon her magic for a life with Michael. During this retelling, Klaus holds no sympathy for Dahlia, and he's not surprised by his mother's actions. Eventually, Klaus was privy to flashbacks of Freya's time with Dahlia, learning then that Freya's power was uncontrollable to a point that she coughed up blood, started storms, and caused flocks of crows to die around her. Dahlia tells Klaus that, and I quote, "the firstborn witches of their bloodline possess devastating power." And as a firstborn witch, Dahlia understands what is to come for Hope, as she did for Freya. Dahlia believes that Hope needs her guidance before the power overwhelms Hope and causes destruction everywhere, especially with Hope's power being tainted with vampire blood and the werewolf aggression that she inherited from Klaus. Because if Freya, Dahlia knew what she did wrong, that pushed Freya away from her, and it was because Freya was denied the love of a parent. So Dahlia proposes to Klaus that if she gets Hope, she'll allow him to remain as Hope's father instead of ripping Hope away from Klaus. Dahlia even tells him this, and I quote, "You will get to raise your daughter, and now I'll get to channel the magic that's been promised to me. And in doing so, I'd be helping Hope to hone the craft you couldn't possibly understand. With us by your side, no one would ever test you ever again." End quote. Despite the offer, Klaus knows that there's always a catch, and Dahlia's catch is that Hayley must be eliminated in order for their deal to remain peaceful. Now, after hearing all of this, I can't help but hope that this is all true, that Dahlia isn't just spewing some lies to Klaus to get him on her side, because I believe after hearing this, and if this is legit, that this could actually work. Dahlia is only awake for a year every century, so why not in that year that Dahlia is awake, have her mentor Hope and teach her magic to the best of her capabilities, and then as Dahlia sleeps, Klaus can raise Hope without interference. He'd still raise Hope during the 1 year that Dahlia's awake, but it could be like Hope's going off to boarding school or something. If Dahlia truly means it when she says that Klaus could stay in Hope's life, then I believe this could work. Anyways, Dahlia then awakens Klaus from his staggered slumber, and as he gathers his strength, he overhears Hayley's message to Elijah about how she doesn't want Hope to be a Michelson and how it's better for Hope if she didn't return to them. With the news of Hayley running with his daughter, Klaus goes to Dahlia and accepts her deal. And I am truly ecstatic to see how this partnership works. I'm worried about what Klaus would do if Rebecca or Elijah got in his way, but I hope the worst would be daggering them. Klaus on a rampage is unpredictable though, so I'm uncertain. Now, Klaus and Dahlia were my favorite part of the episode, not only because of the flashbacks, but because they discussed the core conflict between them, which is kind of like them arguing over Hope's custody to some degree. I know it's wishful thinking, but I do hope that what Dahlia described can come to be without Klaus losing his daughter to Dahlia. Because if what she said about Freya's power is true, then Hope will need Dahlia to mentor her. And if that's the case, Klaus is going to need Dahlia, so I just hope that they could work something out. But then knowing the two of them both being their own villains in the story, one of them or both of them is bound to be lying to each other, or they are bound to double-cross each other or something. Something somewhere down the line, I don't know. But that's my first favorite. My second favorite moment of the episode was very brief, but it was the preview scene that was released between Elijah and Camille. While Camille's at work, Elijah visits her with news that he's daggered Klaus, but then he is told that Klaus never killed Aiden. Despite the news, Elijah is firm on his decision to keep Klaus daggered. Camille doesn't believe it's the right move when it's Klaus's daughter that's in danger, but my favorite part is when Elijah called Camille out on her feelings for Klaus, and she didn't deny them. As a big Klaus and Camille shipper, I just love that. And then when Camille asked, and I quote, "How long are you going to leave him like that? 5 years? 10? A lifetime?" End quote. And I got the feeling she was asking how long she'd have to wait before she could see Klaus alive again. And when she said a lifetime, it made me feel like she feared that she'd be dead long before Klaus was released. What do you think? Now, my third and final moment I'm going to tell you for the episode was Elijah's confrontation with Freya when he injected Hope's blood into Freya and turned her into the bait they needed for Dahlia. I thought that was such a clever move since Freya's magic would be the closest thing to replicate Hope's magic, and Elijah showed that he didn't trust Freya as much as we initially thought he did. He said 2 quotes that even attested to that. Elijah told Rebecca in a quote, "It seems Klaus's distrust in Freya wasn't entirely misplaced," end quote, which is what I was waiting for, because Klaus, despite being paranoid, would be the one to know if someone was plotting against him or those he values most. I mean, he is viewed as the ultimate villain, and if he could plot out any possible scenarios, it would be him. Anyways, and then Elijah told Freya, and I quote, "I trust her far more than I trust you," end quote, and he was referring to Rebecca in that quote, which is rightfully so. You trust the sister you've known the longest. Hell, if I had to side with Freya or an unpredictable Cole, I'd rather pick Cole because I've grown to know him much longer than Freya, who is still a stranger. Sorry. It's late for me. Anyways, plus I truly don't trust Freya at all. One instance was when Elijah's demand for Freya's word that no harm would come to Hope, Freya replies with, and I quote, Dahlia won't get close enough to hurt Hope. She won't be able to hurt any child ever again, end quote. I immediately thought that Freya could easily hurt the child still with those words, because the way she said it, she gave herself a loophole like Elijah once did. She promised that Dahlia wouldn't get a hold of Hope, but she never said that she wouldn't get a hold of Hope to hurt her. Because when Freya said that line, I immediately thought back to episode 106 when Elijah gave Sophie his word that Klaus wouldn't harm Agnes, and yet Elijah is the one to kill Agnes. So it's easy to spot loopholes when they're asked for their word to be given. And the fact that she said Dahlia and didn't just say no harm will come to Hope like in general has me really suspicious. Anyways, with today's flashbacks about Freya's power, I can't help but wonder if Freya is the true threat against Hope. What if Dahlia channeling Freya is the only thing keeping Freya's powers balanced? And if Dahlia dies, that balance is shattered, which could cause Freya's magic to become destructive again? Or what if Freya wants Hope for her own, to replace the son she lost with Matthias, or to channel Hope for herself like Dahlia did to Freya? Either way, I do not trust Freya at all, whatsoever. End of story. Now, with that being said, the one moment I did not like in this episode was Hayley and Jackson. So many issues I have with them. One being that Jackson asking Hayley to pick between him and the Michelsons, that just rubbed me the wrong way. The only reason I see why Hayley picked Jackson was for love, which I really don't see the worth in it, because sometime down the line Jackson's going to die, because I doubt that he will want to become a hybrid to be with Hayley for eternity. With that said, the Michelsons are going to be around for eternity, and Hayley is immortal, so why not pick the family that will be there for you forever instead of the family you'd maybe have a few decades with you if you're lucky? Not even, since Jackson will age while Hayley can't. So there's another issue right there. Anyways, another issue I had was Hayley's decision to run with Hope. Has she not learned anything from the tales of Catherine Pierce? Catherine was on the run from Klaus for over 500 years because she screwed him over in the sacrifice that he'd waited 500 years to break. Now, what makes Hayley think that Klaus won't pursue her just as hard, if not harder, if it meant getting Hope back to him? Catherine took away Klaus's chance at being a hybrid again, and yet Hayley is taking away Klaus's daughter, his own flesh and blood. If Hayley thinks she could escape Klaus's wrath after making that decision, she's dead wrong. I mean, she could just ask Catherine. And with that one decision, Hayley burned her alliance card with Klaus and got a huge bullseye on her back. I have no sympathy for her whatsoever. And isn't she the one that conspired with Catherine in the first place back in season 4 of The Vampire Diaries? If that was even the case, then surely she would have heard a lot more about Klaus coming after Catherine for all of Catherine's vampire existence. I'm just saying. Now let's get on to predictions. First off, the synopsis for the next episode, which is 221, titled Fire with Fire, is as follows. After discovering that he's been betrayed by his own siblings, Klaus teams up with an unlikely ally and sets off on a warpath hell-bent on revenge. Amidst the news that Klaus is on the loose, Elijah, Rebecca, and Freya move forward with their plan to lure Dahlia to the compound and take her down once and for all. Meanwhile, Hayley and Jackson attempt to escape through the flooded bayou, even as Marcel finds himself hunted by a dangerous new threat. Finally, Davina is presented with an offer that could allow her the chance to bring Cole back, though it will require her to make a life-altering decision. Camille and Vincent are also set to appear. Now, with that said, and with what I saw in the promos, Klaus is going to be on a warpath to find Hayley and Hope. and it's possible that Elijah gets in Klaus's way. Very possible, as the promo shows Elijah being restrained and shouting. For what or for who, no clue, but the promo ends there with his shouting. And I actually can't wait to see Klaus on a raging warpath. It'd be nice to see the Klaus we were first introduced to back in episode 219 of the Vampire Diaries. It would be great to see the vampire that took no mercy against those who wronged him or who got in his way. I can't wait to see the legend that is Klaus make his comeback. And with Dahlia by his side, oh boy, for everyone in the French Quarter, they better run. In regards to Dahlia, in regards to Davina, it'd be interesting to see what she does with the offer to become Grand Coven leader, or to become the new Josephine, as it were. I wonder what decision she'd have to make to become such a pivotal person in the magical community for them. Now, my predictions for the last 2 episodes for the season would have to be this firstborn witch debt thing for the Michelsons. It has to be resolved somehow, or the resolution for it is going to be the cliffhanger in the finale. I think either Dahlia, Freya, or both are going to die before the season ends. I hope we get to see Cole's return before the season ends, and if he does return, I wonder which Cole we will get. Is it the vampire or the witch? It'd be interesting to see Davina with vampire Cole, and when I say that, I mean original Cole, not Kayla being turned into a vampire. So I believe I covered everything. I included my top 3 favorite moments, and then my most peeved moment. I've got my prediction down, so I think I'm all set to call it a day. Now, this is a lot shorter than the last originals recap I did, but let me know in the comments below which format you prefer when it comes to this recap. I'll also include in the description box below the link to the recap notes I had for this episode that I already posted on my Livejournal account. So, thank you for watching this recap. I hope you enjoyed it. Before you leave, don't forget to like, subscribe, or comment below about what you liked about the episode or about what you think is going to happen next. I'd love to hear it all from you guys. Till next time, have a great day, everyone. Bye.